Hello there everyone and welcome to episode 6 of my team career mode. Unfortunately in the last round we got caught as lapped traffic right at the end of the race and we crossed the line in P20, the last of the remaining runners. So that was a little bit of a disappointing debut at the New Street circuit. One of the main issues we had was our straight line speed was absolutely awful. So heading into Spain we are going to update some of our power unit components in a hope that we can find back maybe a little bit of pace on a track that I'm not particularly fond of. I'm not a huge fan of Catalunya and I'm not particularly fast on it either, but we're still going to give it our all and hope that maybe we can find a little bit of pace jumping into quali. And based on the amount of time remaining, I can only assume this will be our final run and hopefully our best run in the session. Currently in P17, looking to find a bit of pace to see if we can just squeeze in to Q2. But our lack of downforce and a pretty weak chassis is going to make especially the fast paced aspects of this track very difficult to navigate. We have a decent flow through the first sector and we're up by half a tenth. And we'll be looking to just roll on this momentum. Probably need to find more time though, so we're going to look to get continually aggressive as this lap evolves. Decent run there, heading into the fast right-hander. Unfortunately, we can't carry too much pace through that because we just don't have the downforce, but still just over a tenth up, heading into the newly reprofiled hairpin. A lot more open and a lot more enjoyable to drive. Still pretty tough to get the traction down heading into the right-hander, but we are now about 2 tenths up. A lot of that was on corner entry though. On exit we lose a bit of that. And now heading into the very awkward chicane, we'll be looking to get aggressive as we can. Try not to hit the sausage curbs, and that's about 3 tenths up as we short shift heading into the final corner. Will it be enough to get us into Q2? We'll have to wait and see. It's probably going to be close. And it's P20. So a little bit unfortunate there as we have a look at some of our upgrades going forward. About 900 points remaining. Can't remember exactly what I decided to go for. I may have even banked the points because I am so far behind on arrow.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day, he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat out this weekend.
Okay, how was that pull away?
So yeah, as I was saying, I think I may have been just banking my points because, as you can clearly see on this straight arrow, absolutely awful. But anyway, we divert our attention to the formation lap and we're looking to get heat into these tyres, of course. And in terms of an objective for this race, honestly, let's just see what happens because we're not really on the money for points, I don't think. Anyway, 5 red lights. And we're off, not getting held for long there. And now an initial jump, okay. We're on the soft tyres alongside our teammates, so we'll be looking to gain as much ground as possible. We try to go down the inside, but Guan Yu Zhou will cover very aggressively. We still though look to dive it down his inside, and we get the move done. So that's us up into P16. So a decent launch off the start here, and we'll be wanting to try and find as much ground while the AI scrap on this opening lap as possible. Ricardo, Sonoda, Gasly 3 wide. We'd look to maybe make it 4 wide, but that would have been a little bit silly. Unfortunately, Gasly braking at the apex. We lose a little bit of momentum. Nonetheless, though, able to get back onto the overtake. We got a little bit wide there. I'm just going to say we did extend track limits there. We probably did. Anyway, moving forward. Ocon will get us back. I will slot him behind P13. So a pretty decent start here, it must be said, and I think I can maybe still find a little bit more ground before the lap comes to an end. Trying to use as much overtake as we can, be really, really aggressive before DRS becomes a factor in this race. Unfortunately, though, our straight line speed's still lacking even with a fresh engine and exiting the hairpin, a little bit of damage. Ricardo as well showed the nose, but able to defend against that. And it's starting to feel like this is probably where we will slot in for this race. Our low speed grip, pretty poor. But overall, a clean first lap, can't complain too much about that one. And moving on to lap 2 now, we've actually tucked in behind Ocon, so our pace, it's okay. Just being able to hang on to these guys will be critical in this race. And we'll be hoping that as the race does develop, maybe some of the cars ahead will be doing a 2-stop. I think we're only doing a 1-stop. That could maybe get us in the race. We'll just have to see how things evolve. Fortunately, our traction and our exit on that last corner, very poor compared to the AI. You can see Ocon stretching out that gap, and now Ricciardo very clean down the inside. And we're not going to hold around the outside. We're just going to lose too much time. We'll let him through. He's on the soft tyre as well. We might be able to try and ghost him as DRS now will become available in the 3rd lap. Still hanging in there with Ricciardo, fast forwarding onto lap 8, and he's only half a second ahead, so we've maintained that DRS gap, and Ricciardo maybe getting out-hooked up here a little bit by Ocon. We get a warning from our engineer that our tyre grip is going to fall off, and as you can see, almost approaching 40% wear here. Except for the rear right. Oh, who's that? Someone going very slow. I think that may have been Verstappen again.
Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
So Verstappen once more having really bad luck in this championship battle with Ferrari. The Red Bull team just can't really seem to catch a break. And the safety car has been deployed, so we'll change our strategy and look to get these softs off as quickly as possible. And it looks like the rest of the field is going to respond as well, which does make sense. I think we'll be jumping onto the mediums here to finish off the race. Maybe the hards? Not quite sure how our tyre is going to be. We'll go on whatever the team suggests. They know best. And it will be the white-walled hard compound tyre. So we'll be looking to see these out to the end, an estimated life of 35 laps. So we should be able to ride these home. Safety car was also a good opportunity to bring back that fuel deficit. I think we started with about half a lap under fueled. And now we're half a lap over fueled, so we don't have to worry too much about that for the rest of the race. It looks like the rest of the field as well has gone on to the hards. So there shouldn't be any more pit stops in this race, at least the cars around us. Jumping onto the hards. We restart in P12 on the 11th lap, so a third of the way through this Grand Prix. Schumacher up ahead and Gasly close by, but as you can see, that gap already blown out to 2 seconds. Moving on to lap 14. Ricciardo and Ocon actually falling behind us in the pit stops. Oh, we've lost traction though. Hold that thought. Lap 14, we lose traction. We get absolutely swiped by Guan Yu Zhou. An unfortunate mistake there from us, and we get penalized as well for causing a collision. Purely a mistake there, and I just wanted to try and hold my ground so that we tried to avoid contact there as much as possible. And yeah, just so disappointing to make a mistake like that, and really disappointing for Guan Yu Zhou as well. I can only imagine how difficult it was for him to try and avoid me there, and yeah, unfortunate outcome. Nonetheless though, we move forward onto the restart. I don't think I got any floor or even side pod damage from that, so incredibly lucky, and we'll look to soldier on now with that 5-second penalty. The field bunched back up. I need to try and extend any gap that we can. Hamilton up ahead in that Mercedes. He's going to be very challenging to try and catch here. And Bottas will be very tasty behind as well. I can only imagine he'll have some decent pace. And now it's all about trying to consolidate this position as much as possible. A top 10 finish, especially with the penalty, is going to be incredibly challenging. But if we manage to finish in and around P13, that's still a very decent result for a team and for a car, which really is a back marker at the moment. This lap though after the restart, pretty clean. Bottas posing a threat behind already, even without DRS. We use overtake to try and defend, but unfortunately he will get ahead of us onto lap 24. Big gap behind us though to the Aston Martins in Vettel and Stroll. In fact, it is outside that 5-second penalty window, so assuming we finish where we are right now, provisionally we are 12th, which is actually not too bad at all. We'll take that. Huge gap though to the top 10 runners.
Okay, we've been informed of an incident which has resulted in lots of loose debris on the track. A safety car is being
But
deployed.
probably the worst outcome that could have happened does. A safety car. We'll restart here on lap 26, but it means that we've lost that gap to all the cars behind. And everyone now is basically within that 5-second window. So we have a sprint to the end now on these hard tyres to see if we can try and build back up that 5-second gap. But I don't quite think we have that performance deficit, or performance gain rather, on those cars behind. So this is going to be a bit of a struggle as we look to aggressively warm up the tyres. That was one of the issues I was having on some of these restarts, was just the tyres were almost stone cold as we entered the final corner. So we get really aggressive on them and hope that we have enough heat, especially down the straight heading into the first corner. And this restart already looking a lot better than what we had previously. A very clean exit outside of the final corner. We are looking to get as aggressive as possible here. Bottas, 10th position. We are right on the edge of points here. And even with that penalty, we might be able to try and steam away right on the gearbox here of Bottas, applying so much pressure. But we know if we want to get past him, we need to do it as quickly as possible. Back into overtake here. And we look to head down the inside onto Bottas. Really clean move there. And we see Ricciardo and Hamilton a little bit slow up ahead, but ourselves, we lose the rear end, we lose traction, and we fall off the track surface. And that's Bottas now driving away into the sunset, and any window of opportunity to maybe form a gap on him is gone, and even an opportunity now to get back at him, we've probably lost that too. So very, very disappointing. And now we're under pressure from behind. Vettel under 2 tenths, so that gap really quite close. We continue to be aggressive with overtake to try and extend any gap to him behind, because once DRS gets activated, he's going to be quite a threat. And the Aston Martin's in a straight line, quite pacey in this game, especially in comparison to me. Up ahead though, who's that? Ocon fallen off the track. Ricciardo goes side by side. Bottas slow as well. We said it was an opportunity to get back at Bottas. I didn't think we'd have another chance, but there we have it, into P10, a point scoring position as Bottas back down the inside. Maybe rubbing tyres there a little bit. He doesn't give us too much room. We ride the edge of the track, back down the inside. Great racing here with Bottas. But we also want to continue to attack Ocon and Ricciardo up ahead, who are battling. So we need to get this job done. We do. And that's P10 confirmed. Moving on to lap 31, and we actually maintain position, but that 5-second penalty is going to prove very, very costly. We only have 3 laps to try and find 5 seconds, and that's asking for a miracle at this point. It would take a lot of battling between Vettel and Bottas behind, and us to be absolutely on the money for that to be any possibility. As Bottas back down the inside, off the track we go a little bit, but we still maintain control of the car. Unfortunately for us though, Bottas will confirm that overtake, and that's us demoted back to P11, with Vettel still very close behind, 2 tenths, and our teammate in Oscar Piastri 2 seconds behind as well. So that's at least 2 cars within the 5 seconds. I can only assume there might be 1 or 2 additional cars within that window as well. So we have to continue to push here and hope that we can extend that gap. Always a possibility that a car ahead has a penalty, but at this point it's a bit of a stretch. As we move on to lap 33, still in P11, Bottas out to 2.5 seconds. Vettel still clinging on, 0.5 second behind, and Verstappen, who spun earlier, has been trying to recover some points, but he'll look to finish in P13. He'll likely be promoted though into P12, as we still do have this penalty as we get through the chicane, through the final corner. We are going to cross the line in P11. We'll see what we end up in P17. So we lose a bunch of positions at the line, but look, it has to be said, not a bad result there. We'll take it. good pace. We just need to keep improving.
They've done it then. A spectacular victory here in Spain and a massive confidence boost going into the next race. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Staying out of trouble was probably the most important factor here. In a race where half the field weren't classified at the checkered flag, you were able to guarantee a good result by keeping the car running. With their pace and a decent strategy as well, I don't think the race was ever really in doubt.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. So let's review the drivers' standings. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
It's got to be Valtteri Bottas, a commanding performance that I think had the audience's eyes glued to him for the majority of the race.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.